Kristin Davis.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi, Kristin. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you guys.
Although under circumstances probably not the greatest in the world for you.
Oh, that's right. When you were on the bounty hunter, nothing.
No, I didn't know what do you mean.
What were you going for
I
there,
was making
Rich?
a joke.
No, about what?
She looks like a pretty.
Kind of
pretty.
not funny.
I've done about 20 of them that weren't so far. I'm old for 20.
Yeah, that was not a funny joke, was it?
Not at all.
It wasn't-
Like I look nothing like her,
No.
and she's not attractive.
You look
Right.
nothing like her.
You're a pretty version of her. That's all. You can be a pretty
Now he's
version
trying to
of
fix it.
somebody.
He's really
you can
trying-
be a
yeah.
pretty version of somebody.
Rich looks
Doghouse.
more like Dog. He looks like Dog, the bounty hunter, a little bit there, Rich. We
Right.
get a little
You mean
more
because
of
Dog's a little heavy and Rich has
with
put
the
on a little
tattoos
weight?
and
Yeah.
the jewelry and
Yeah.
And kind
Yeah.
of a stupid face.
Yeah,
Right.
They're dealing with people, bail people, and stuff of that nature.
Right. Does Dog try to do radio with breakfast still in his mouth?
I don't have breakfast.
Only if it's turkey
It's
bacon.
Nicorette gum.
Welcome, Kristin.
Well, hi, Kristin.
Hi.
Yeah.
We haven't seen you in years. How long were you in jail for?
I was 18 months federal confinement.
Fuck.
Is federal confinement different from jail, or is that just you're being specific?
I'm being specific.
I see.
It's a combination of camps, medium security institute, and halfway house.
In Leavenworth?
Totally.
That's federal, right?
I have no idea.
We
I
don't-
hope
nobody
I
knows
never
what you're
make
talking
it.
about. No,
I think
exactly.
that's like a max.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever get
Yeah,
there.
it's
hopefully.
like where fucking like Pappy Mason and those fucking big drug dealers are. And you're like, did you go to Leavenworth? No, she didn't.
That's the
Just
only
the
federal
one
I
prison
know.
he knew.
So wait, last
is
time we
it?
talked to you was right before you went in.
Yeah, and you remember I had nice nails then also.
Your nails do look really good. Well, you've always been very sexy. I mean, come on.
What is medium security prison like in the sense that, like, some people will describe, like, oh, it's probably one of those country club prisons. I'm sure it's not a country club.
Those don't exist anymore.
Tell me about
Since
it.
those articles came out, they did away with them.
Right.
Medium is where you're on confinement for basically 24 hours a day, and you have 10 minutes each hour in which you can move from building to building on campus. So should you need to go eat, you have a 10-minute window to get there. Then you're locked in again.
So
But
they
now,
will-
will you let you go unescorted between buildings?
Yes.
And you could escape if you want, but that'd be a dumb thing.
No, it's what we call behind the wall. So there's this huge wall. There's no way.
Okay.
But you can't save up your 10 minutes and get like an hour at the end
No,
of the
I
day.
wouldn't.
But wait,
you
you're
just
in-
have 10 minutes to walk
You
around
have
and
10 minutes, and if you're caught, then you're going to the hole. If you're
But you're
caught
in
someplace else.
solitary for the whole day except for 10 minutes an hour?
Yes.
Like, get the fuck. What about lunch? You don't get a half an hour for.
You get as long as lunch. It's an hour and a half. You can sit there for the whole hour and a half if you choose to.
That's lovely.
That was a childlike question.
No,
very
I
stupid.
don't know.
Very
It's all about
stupid.
food. It's all about food with Rich Voss.
It really
Yes.
is.
You're
It
in
really
all
is.
about
prison.
food with Rich Voss there.
You're in prison. You want to eat well.
You do, yes, but it was
They
just a
feed-
childish question. What do you get for lunch?
They feed you on $1.87 per day. You don't eat well at all.
You know,
Wow. Now, how do you get accustomed to it, or is it like for the entire time you're there, every meal you're like, this fucking sucks?
Every meal, this sucks.
That's
Did
it.
you did you get a girlfriend in jail? Because women are not like prison rape thing, but they bond on some level. Did you want? I mean, a year and a half's a while.
A year and a half's a while, but I'm super straight, so that wasn't happening. But there is the expectation that you're gay for the stay the minute you walk in the door. So you're walking in, they know the new meat is coming in, and they're watching you from their housing units, picking out who they like. So then within a course of like a week, people are coming up to me like, so Davis, you have pretty eyes. Do you like girls? And I'm like, nope.
But they didn't. No one forced you or any of that stuff.
No.
Hey, like male prison, do you have to fight in there though to
There's
so
a lot of
nobody
violence.
fucks with you?
No, I mean there is a lot of violence, but I think most of it's like domestic violence. So girlfriends getting upset.
Oh,
That's
I
the main
see.
cause.
Were any of
So-
the male guards creepy or no? Because
Totally creepy. I saw a number of them getting walked off for inappropriate relationships with the women.
Wow.
and the women will set you up too because they keep your cum. Like and they'll have you. They will have your DNA.
What?
They'll keep your cum in a blowjob,
Did-
or whatever. They'll spit it out and they have your DNA.
Did you find that? Were your friends in prison? Were they keeping semen?
No, but I knew girls that were having relationships with officers for niceties. So makeup and food and things, phones and things that we don't have access to.
They would give them oral sex.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So when you first get there, like, what's the strategy? Do you just like, you know what? I'm going to keep to myself. I'm going to stay in my cell as long as, or my area, whatever it is, as long as possible. Or do you go, I'm just going to if I got 10 minutes an hour to walk around, I'm going to walk around for 10 minutes and try to acclimate myself to whatever the normal lifestyle is.
My strategy, I mean, my strategy was to find the food. So there's a black market of underground prison commerce, which is super cool and interesting. And most of it revolves around food. So the people that work in the kitchen smuggle good food out, and then those of us who don't work in the kitchen buy it. And then we either resell it or eat it ourselves, because that's the only chance you have of getting good food.
And what's good food?
Eggs, like just eggs,
So
bagels.
They'll steal the eggs.
Yes.
And it's like, so the kitchen won't have a ton of eggs.
No, there's a ton of eggs, so it doesn't matter. There's 1,100 women on this complex. There's millions of eggs.
Were you able to drink or get high in there? If you do drink or get high?
I don't do either of those things,
Oh,
so
okay.
I did not.
Did you see anybody else doing them?
Yeah. There was a
Did
lot
you
of
report
there was
them
a
to the
lot of
guard?
pot, which there was a lot of pot. No, I would never report
kidding.
anyone.
She's not a snitch.
I know.
It's a joke. You're a businesswoman.
Yes.
And that's, I mean, you became very, very famous as a Manhattan Madam. Do those instincts start to kick in when you're in jail? Like, oh my God, do you become somebody who's reselling a lot of food or whatever the business that's available to you is?
Only out of necessity for that food. So in order to make these women who are coming from the kitchen happy, I have to buy whatever they bring. And then a lot of that stuff I don't want, so I have to get rid of it. But it was mostly not economic reasons. It was like more dietary.
I got a question.
Because your stomach is so messed up in there.
But if you got money going in, you could have money sent to you every month so you could buy stuff, right?
Yeah, you can have money sent to you whenever, but you have a limit on what you can actually buy
For
in
your
the commissary,
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you never had any problem getting whatever you wanted in there if you have
No, because the big thing is the food. So once you make friends with everyone and you control that, then everybody's coming to you to get what they want.
So what did you? How did you get involved with this whole Mueller grand jury thing?
Roger Stone. I mean, Roger Stone happens to be one of my best friends. Him and his wife are my child's godparents.
We do love Roger.
I know.
Do you live with Roger in his duplex?
Roger lives with me in my duplex.
Does it? You see Roger every day?
When he's here in New York, when him and Mrs. Stone are here, I see them every day.
Does he walk around shirtless? He's a very buff guy.
I don't know. I have a different floor.
Oh, okay.
I try not to get in his business like that.
He's very buff. I was
But
surprised.
You never had a sexual relationship with him?
No.
Just good friends?
Yes.
He's
just good
professional.
friends.
Roger keeps it professional. So
well, let's preface that by for 10 years I was senior vice president of a hedge fund, $2 billion fund. So I have a lot of business background other than being a madam.
you do.
Yes.
So okay, no. So you meet Roger. You're working with Roger a little bit, and then there's this whole grand jury investigation. The Muellers, they're investigating Trump and all that. So how are you called in? Are they just trying to fuck with Roger?
I think so. Because they didn't ask me anything. Let me preface that. They mostly were concerned with Russian collusion, which I know nothing about. And, Roger has a number of tweets that are foretelling. So all of these things are confusing.
Yeah.
I learned I was getting subpoenaed on a month. Actually, I learned that the subpoena might be coming on Friday. I accidentally talked to a reporter who then went all over the news talking about having a conversation with me, which I didn't know she was going to do. Then on Monday, they served me, and they were pissed that I spoke to this reporter accidentally.
How'd you speak to her accidentally? Because you're savvy. You know what they want.
No, because I've known her for 10 years. It would be like if you called me. I've known you for 10 years.
Sure.
If you called me and you were like, girl, I heard you were getting subpoenaed. How you feeling? And I'm talking to you as my friend, and I think you actually genuinely care.
Right.
And then I find out you're all over the news talking about
You think
me.
it's an off-the-record discussion?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So you're not friends with this person anymore?
No.
Right.
No,
Right.
she's been begging for interviews, and she's got the cold shoulder.
What was
Right.
Mueller asking you? You walk into the grand jury. There's no lawyer present, right?
Well,
It's just-
right. So what it's like in there is, and they're very big bullies. So I learned on Monday I was getting a subpoena. I said, I don't have childcare. I can't come to D.C. I'm all the way out in California vacationing with my mom and my 2-year-old son. And they're like, we don't care. If you can talk to the media, you can figure out how to get to D.C. We don't care about any of that stuff and your kid.
So they're clearly pissed about the
Yeah.
initial interview.
They wanna make it hurt a little.
Right, but I mean,
Yeah.
how reasonable is that? 4 days to get 2,500 miles?
Sure.
Randy Credico was just subpoenaed, and he got 3.5 weeks. So now you're bullying me.
Randy's a comic,
Wait,
but
but
people
why
don't know.
was
Randy
Randy-
Credico is a very liberal comic, and
He's
he's
a very
kind of an
big
activist.
douchebag.
He has
You don't like
pictures
Randy?
with-
No, I don't.
He has pictures with Castro, Credico.
Okay.
He's very left.
Yeah, he
I
is.
mean, beyond.
But he's been pretty consistent.
But
yeah,
what's-
he-
Yeah, what's the deal with him?
That's yeah.
Well, so he's the intermediary between Roger Stone and WikiLeaks.
So wait, so
Now-
are they
now
friendly? And so they're so opposite. Credico and Roger Stone are so opposite.
So here's the background on that. They're frenemies. They've been frenemies for many years, right? In 2010, I ran Randy Credico as a Senate candidate on my ticket. And him and Roger, he ended up heckling me at some campaign event. Him and Roger got into a fist fight. I mean, but...
Who won?
Roger.
Of course. Roger's, again, buff.
Roger's pretty badass, you know? But then Randy got a radio show and he begged Roger and they became friends again. So there you have
It's so
it. So he was
crazy.
the intermediary.
Isn't it crazy in that world that what can make you friends with somebody and what can...
It's so awful, the duplicity involved.
So why don't you like Randy? If him and Roger, if you ran him and then him and Roger made up, why don't you like him?
Because I'm not the type to forgive like that. I already realized he was a douchebag, which I said in front of the grand jury.
You said douchebag?
I certainly did.
I'm sorry about that.
I don't hold my mouth, and if I don't like you, you know right away to my.
You don't like
I'm
him.
sorry
Tell
about
him
that
you-
bad joke.
He's all right.
You didn't like Voss.
It's
It's all right.
right.
It's all right.
No
It
one
was
likes
in your
Voss.
face. It was your breath. Sorry.
It's okay.
It was a bad joke. Sorry.
So listen, so you're on the grand jury, you walk in, you said they're bullying you, and besides being bullying you and kind of not giving a shit and making you get there, which is a little short notice.
Right.
You walk in, what is the grand jury room like? There's obviously a jury, but you don't have an attorney with you.
You don't have an attorney. So now because they're bullying me, I have to get an attorney, right? I have to get a DC attorney. So I choose this amazing attorney, Michael Rossetti. He's a partner at Aiken Gump, and he's $860 an hour. So now I'm incurring all these legal fees. You go into the...
Every time you talk on the phone, it's like a half-hour charge,
I'm
right?
like,
They
I
bill
go,
by the half.
wow, that was a $1,200 phone
Yeah.
call. So, basically you go there and you're in this really nondescript, non-impressive room with just the prosecutor who clearly has a relationship with these jurors because he's been in there for months,
Exactly.
right? So he's friendly, he's cordial, he's laughing, making jokes. And there's no defense attorney present for me. I mean, which is okay because I had zero criminal liability. So I was not worried about that. But in terms of the way he presented it, everything is framed in a totally negative way to where the question is almost yes or no. And that things aren't that simple.
Right.
Yes or no. So, I personally pushed back a lot. To where I would try to reframe it, but then I was cut off at times.
By him or the judge?
There's no judge. That's why even
Oh.
with my subpoena for 4 days, I tell my first attorney, who's not a DC attorney, who I'm like, can't we file a motion with a judge to get more time? This is unacceptable. I'm going to lose a lot of money on vacation, blah, blah, blah. He's like, there is no judge. You can't do that. And that motion would have to be filed with the overall DC federal court, and that motion would cost like $10,000.
So if you do that, let's say you go and there's the prosecutor and you want to, like, he wants a yes or no answer, but you want to give it. Who has the right to stop you if you're like, no, I'm going to answer
No
this
one.
question?
No
and then
one.
there's somebody cross. I mean, if he's coming up with a question, you should have somebody there to rebuttal his question, right?
It's not allowed. It's a secret
there's
grand
no-
jury.
what?
It's a secret
That's not-
grand jury
what's wrong with that
proceeding.
question?
So
No, it's a good one.
To rebuttal his thing, yes.
Or to what?
Not rebut,
Cross-examine?
yeah.
Or and no, you can't take the fifth on any of this stuff.
I mean,
and say,
I could, but then the thing is, they've already given you what's called a proffer. So anything you say in there, it can't be used against you. So if you plead the fifth, they're just going to go and get a judge to then order you to answer the question because they've given you immunity. So you're really not incriminating
So you
yourself.
aren't
Right.
scared for yourself?
No, not at
What
all.
were they asking you about Roger?
Oh, like his Podesta tweets. Well, where did he get those? Did he have, knowledge? And I'm like, dude.
Isn't it amazing?
CNN had Julian Assange on in June 2016, 2 months before the tweet, and so he definitely could have gotten this all from outside sources.
Isn't it
and his
amazing?
tweet-
Like the power, like the tweets have.
I know.
Yeah.
Tweets that should be so like these innocuous, like who cares things are now the conversation in a grand jury room.
Well, and everybody's taken that tweet, right, and ripped it apart because he said the Podestas with an S, not the Podesta. But the media has taken the and the S off as if to make him appear worse. And that's sort of like what concerned me going in there is that they're sitting here and they're using like, get me Roger Stone, which tells of this ominous, I can't even
Ominous.
talk today. Ominous, that's what I meant.
Voss is contagious.
Yeah.
Right. So it's foretelling of this like ominous guy and all these different things, and that's not really who he is as a person.
Do you think
So-
Roger's nervous about this?
Oh, sure, especially after yesterday, man.
Why FTS? Oh, because of Manafort and Michael Cohen?
Yeah.
Well, are you nervous in any way? Because I mean, especially after your experience of like I'm sure you never thought you would end up in jail. You ended up in jail, and now this is somehow in your lap, right? Even just
Right.
be a part of it. Does it freak you out?
A little bit, especially because when I went on CNN, Chris Cuomo, this hasn't really come out. They were very upset with that performance.
Who's they?
The prosecutors.
Why?
And just because I spoke badly about them, first of all, they said that they would cover all travel expenses. They didn't do that. I incurred $1,400 worth of fees. Even they booked my rooms and said, "Oh, this is on our card." Nope, it wasn't. They didn't. They left me stranded in D.C. with no return ticket back. There were numerous different things they did to bully me and push my buttons, and I talked about it on CNN and Good Day New York. And they got mad and they called my attorney and they were trying to find some ridiculous reason to recall me just to bust my balls again and bully me. And that at that time I said, you know what? Bring it on. I'm ready.
So
if they want to recall me, bring me back in because I haven't perjured myself and now it's bullying and I was even respectful. I went in with no fanfare through the back entrance. I didn't want the press, but now I'm going in the front and I'm going to say what I think of you.
So now Mueller was the guy actually asking you the questions.
No, it was a different attorney.
It was a different attorney. Okay, they probably have someone doing certain people and other
Right.
guys doing. It's like
Right.
second unit when you shoot a film. Because I'm going to say for the record, I know a lot about this collusion thing. So, but if they want to bring me to DC, they have to fly me first class and put me up in a good hotel.
But you do know a lot about collusion.
I happen to know a lot about the things you're talking about.
And how long of a stay in a hotel?
2 nights would be nice. So you better not call me.
What do you think the likelihood is that Roger Stone ends up in jail? Because I think, the likelihood that, Manafort and Michael Cohen do at least some time is pretty likely at this point. Probably not these maximum sentences that everybody's talking
Well,
about.
Manafort, they said, wants no time because he's older. He's like fucking convicted of 8 counts, and then 10 of them were like hung jury. So that's not good for him.
No.
No, but you don't have much discretion in the federal sentencing system. There's guidelines.
Oh, right.
So
80% or some shit you got to do, right?
it's based on the level of your crime and all these other
And
things.
they can't be pardoned. Trump
They
can't-
can. Trump can pardon anybody.
Yeah, but it would make Trump look extremely bad.
It would
to
make him look
pardon the
terrible.
people
Right. He could do it like maybe before he went out of office at the end.
right at the very, yeah.
He could probably do it immediately if he wanted to.
I mean,
but
he
He
could,
could,
but-
but he probably won't.
And he wouldn't get reelected. That would be the thing that certainly would not.
I don't know.
Well, I don't think he wants to be reelected.
You
He
don't
wants
think
to
so?
be back in all this nonsense. It's torn his family apart. He's not making as much money as he should. Like,
This is pat on the ego, though, to be the president.
that's true.
Well, Roger,
A
and the
little bit.
president likes Roger.
Yes.
They know each other.
Yes,
Have
they
you met
know
the
each other.
president?
No.
Do you think Roger Stone ends up in jail? Not should he, but just based on
In this system
your
that we are
experience
in.
of the system. What do you think the likelihood is that he will end up in jail because of all this? Not saying that you
Right.
think he's guilty, but just saying that you know how this thing
With the way
works.
this thing is being set up.
As much as it breaks my heart to say, I think it's likely that he'll get some sort of charges, and they're not going to be for Russian collusion because that didn't happen. But I mean, it's going to be a Manafort type thing where they're just looking for something, and and they're going to find it. If you're looking for something, you will always find it.
What do you think
Even
they
if it's not 100% real, you'll create it into what you want it to be.
What do they want from Roger? What do you think they want from him?
Well, I think they definitely want to pin him to some sort of collusion. That's really what they're interested in. And I think in the climate today, they have to. They can't bring any more of these tax charges without tacking something related to the 2016 election in there.
So do you think that they're just trying to get Roger to talk about Trump? Like they don't really want Roger, they want Trump. So they will try to get Roger to flip on Trump.
Yes. Yes.
But Roger's probably not going to.
Roger's not going to flip.
Right. And that's why he's going to end up doing something,
Correct.
getting some kind of charge, probably.
Correct, because they
Is-
want Trump, and they have to go after everyone around him, just like they called me. They're going after everybody
Right.
around Roger.
Is
They're going after
Roger
little satellites around the moons to get the planet. That's what they're doing.
Right. Is Roger dealing with that mentally? Like, okay, there is a real possibility that I end up being charged with something, doing some time on this. Is he kind of aware that this could be his fate?
Well, he wouldn't be Roger Stone if he didn't have a strategy.
Right.
So he's all on top of that. He's got numerous attorneys. He has a plan. He is very well prepared for whatever.
Has he
will
picked your
happen.
brain about jail so he kind of has a sense of what it's like?
I have volunteered my expertise.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's costing him a fortune with all the fucking
Oh,
lawyers. And, I mean,
millions of dollars.
It's crazy. The
fucking-
amount of attorneys is
My
crazy.
attorney for two visits and just some phone calls has been like $20-something thousand.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Amazing.
that the government can put you through that. Whether or not, especially if you didn't do anything, and then you have to get a lawyer, they don't pay you back. They don't pay you back for that. And if you're not guilty, they don't pay your attorney fees.
And it's not even like Kristin is just associated with somebody else that they're trying to get. It's not even about you haven't done anything. They haven't even said you've done anything.
I know. So now it's like guilty by association just because you're friends with Jim here that you now have to incur $20,000 worth of fees for being your friend.
Absolutely. Right. And I say for the record, I know what's going on, all this Guccifer business. I know.
You know Guccifer.
But I won't say.
Unless
they send me to a first class at a nice hotel for 2 nights in D.C. with a fine meal included.
They could just do like they did to me and leave you with no return flight, and then you had to get a $550 ticket to get home.
Oh, you can bet Club Soda Kenny would get that money. But you, Mr. Mueller, you did promise accommodation. Kenny would get that fucking money.
Now, how does that happen? Do they tell you, like, okay, here's your flight information, you get to D.C., you're there, and you find out that this information they gave you is not accurate? Or did they tell you, we'll let you know what the return flight is once you get there? Or how do you find out you don't have a way to get home?
The government has a travel office. They give you an itinerary. So then, they told me it was an open-ended ticket with no return on the itinerary.
In case they needed you for more than one day.
Well, in case it lasted longer, the meeting, the grand jury. And they did change my time, so it was an acceptable answer. And I got to the airport, and I gave them the number, and they're like, there's no ticket.
Right. And then do you call somebody and say, like, or is there nobody to call?
There's nobody to call.
Right.
I'd have to call. I don't have their number directly, so I'd have to call my attorney to then call. And my attorney was actually with me. He escorted me to, to the airlines, and we had nothing.
Did they fly you first class?
No.
So that wouldn't work for you.
They would be a no Jim Norton in the Mueller fucking hearing.
So they won't get the Guccifer information that you have.
You want Guccifer, you want Assange, perhaps I can provide those things, but not for fucking economy.
First class has to be?
Only first class.
They have a very good rate on the shuttle, though. My $550 ticket was $51 for them.
Oh my God.
That's good for them.
$50. That's not bad.
So they skipped out on a $50 return ticket so that you could pay $550.
I know, efficient, the government.
So amazing.
Really, and they're going to have to pay it, so it's just kind of silly.
Well, did they offer to pay you back for your flight?
They did, but that was a couple weeks ago now, and we still don't have any money or a voucher. So the way they work is they approve the charges, they give you a voucher, and then you have to submit the voucher to the government for reimbursement. So I'm still probably a month away from maybe getting reimbursement, and I'm, opening a business on Friday.
What kind of business?
It's a nail art boutique. BombshellBeautyLab.com.
And
that's why you. By the way, this is how smart Kristin is.
She mentioned my nails.
That's why as soon as she got here, she was like, "Yeah, my nails look nice, huh, Jim?"
Yeah, she did mention that earlier.
But the last time I was here, Judy Gold was here, and she was like, "Those are hooker nails," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, I used to be a madam. These are."
Did you ever hook or no?
No, you know that.
I don't remember the answer.
Come on now.
My memory stinks. I mean, I wouldn't knock it if you did.
No.
You were just kind of the brains. All right.
Do you think part of this is because of the politicians that were associated with your former business and people trying to get back at you? Maybe you've made some enemies in Washington?
I've certainly made some enemies.
Right.
But it has nothing to do
with
no
that.
Friends? It's all the way about, I have a lot of politicians supported my candidacy. They're going to support my future candidacy. Senator Joe Bruno, the mayor of Watertown, New York. A lot of people in New York were supportive of
You're going to run for governor again?
No, but I will probably run for Senate.
I feel like if I had lived the life that you've lived, the last thing I would want to do was anything public. Just let me go jump in a hole and just leave me alone
just
for
relax
a while.
Him, yeah.
Especially after this. But then you also have to consider, I feel like I've been bullied by the government. I feel like I've seen the other side where these guys can do whatever they want to people who don't have any power and aren't using their voice. So I want to be the one in there calling everybody out on all the nonsense they're doing. Because I'll be honest.
I remember I was invited to be your lieutenant governor. I remember you asked me that. And I didn't do it because my manager said, no, don't do it. You're a comedian. You got to just be doing it. All right, I didn't do it. But it was a very nice invitation. I've never been invited into politics before.
No,
I think
we had dinner. Remember that?
Where was the dinner?
I don't remember.
Maybe
it was maybe it was Del Frisco's. Did we have dinner?
It might have been.
I think you'd be a great politician.
You're very open-minded.
Yeah, but I mean, I am open-minded. Yes, you're right. Maybe I would be. I should get involved. Let's run.
The enemies you occurred. I mean, these people came for your service. It's not your fucking fault. Why would they turn on you if they're coming
Because they're afraid that I was going to release their names and credit card imprints. So there was a lot of anger, but I never did that.
Yeah,
so
if you did it though, if you didn't snitch, and they should, what the fuck? They should be
contributing to my
yes,
legal fees.
Yes,
That's right.
They should
did
be
not.
fucking on your team. You saved them.
Yes, I agree.
You know, you took a fall for these fucking assholes.
She just said it would have been. This isn't what it was about, though.
Yeah, she did.
No, I'm
just say
talking
that.
about the other people that turned on her.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, from before.
do
You
tell.
fucking asshole.
So after you did, so people have kind of let go of that, and now this is about your relationship with Roger Stone pretty much exclusively.
Correct. Well, I've worked for Roger Stone off and on for 10 years. So I worked Gary Johnson's presidential campaign. I didn't work Trump's, but I have worked on a lot of campagins for him, and I've done a lot of things.
You didn't vote for Trump, correct?
No.
So this is amazing that like you got wrapped up in all this Trump stuff, and you're like, I didn't even vote for the guy.
I mean, I wasn't a super supporter. I supported Gary Johnson for
Right.
president. That's
Yeah,
my candidate.
I regret that as well.
When you when you were as a supporter of Gary Johnson, when he was asked to start naming other countries and things like that, and he couldn't do it, were you going like, "Oh, Gary, oh no"?
I was cringing a
Yeah,
little bit. But,
a
you know,
little.
sometimes when you're on the spotlight, it's hard. You know, it's hard to get the answer out if you're thinking of something else and you're nervous.
But if you want to be president, you should be good at naming foreign leaders.
You should be a skilled speaker like Roger Stone, who is an excellent speaker.
Roger Stone is a great ducker and dodger, and I'm not even knocking him. I'm saying like he knows how to you'll throw something at him. He knows how to duck and then reframe it into what he wants to say about it.
Do you think
Yeah,
Roger's
he's
done
a
some
skill.
shady
He's
shit
really
though?
skilled.
Say that again?
Do you think Roger's done shady shit?
Define shady.
Well, things that may be not quite on the up and up. Do you think there's things about Roger Stone that people don't know, or do you think his villainous reputation is not as accurate as people think it is?
I think Roger doesn't break crimes, doesn't commit crimes, I should say.
No.
And but I think he does a lot of dirty tricks, you know, and so there's the borderline of what is legal and what's not legal, and I think he always walks on the side that's legal.
Like he's very aware of what
but
these laws
he
are.
Stages,
so, yeah.
He stages riots, and he does all of these things, and he knows what he
Stages riots.
like, you know, the Brooks Brothers. I can't even talk. Brooks Brothers riots for George Bush, Florida. I think that's
Okay.
what. So that's a well-known thing that he's done. You know, he orchestrates all of these things to get people in office or to fulfill an agenda, and he consults his attorneys before he does.
Do you think
them.
he has a lot of connections?
Oh my gosh, so many connections. Roger Stone is like ridiculous.
Yeah. When you're sitting there hanging out with Roger Stone and just talking to him, he doesn't get to this place where he's like, you know what? I don't want to do all this political nonsense anymore. This is exhausting.
No, he lives for this.
He loves
does.
it.
It's what he does.
Loves it.
That's amazing.
So now,
loves it.
I'm sure you've been
Amazing.
around when he's talking to Trump. Does he ask you to leave the room, or is he just like, shh, I'm talking to you?
I usually leave out of respect.
You
I don't
do?
want to hear those conversations. I'm like the least nosy person you've ever met.
Well, it's
I
not
don't
even
want to
being
know
no-
anybody's personal
Well-
business. It doesn't help
Not,
me.
no, not even being nosy, but if you're in
Right.
the room and he's talking to the president, will he talk different when you're there, or just go like, hey?
He'll just go, hey. He doesn't care if I'm there. But
Well, at this point, too, I mean, you'd rather not have the information just because.
That's
like,
right.
as
That's right.
little information you have as possible is probably better for you.
that's right.
Yeah.
You don't want to know.
I don't want to know.
All you want to do is make people's fingernails look pretty.
That's right. I just want to do something that's sparkly and happy and
That's
doesn't
it.
make me think too hard and doesn't land me in jail.
So,
That's it.
and how did jail affect you? Like, obviously, you know, I read something about PTSD, and what's all that? Is that for jail or just for when you were in Rikers?
I definitely had it in Rikers because being in solitary is awful, and that's the worst prison in the world. It's disgusting. Regular prison was not that bad, honestly. I was planning for my release from the day that I got in there, so I was ready to hit the ground running.
Well, it's like we say, you only do 2 days: the day you go in, and your first day and your last day.
Who's we?
Convicts, hardened people, men of the street.
I see.
you want
yeah.
that street cred?
I do, yeah. You know, men
Okay.
who've seen it all.
Now, did you you met Remy Ma while you were there?
I did. I met Remy Ma in Rikers.
Oh wow! Did you help her write her diss track of Nicki Minaj?
No, but that was pretty brilliant.
Oh, it was great.
She's, you know what? She is one of the most amazingly smart people I have ever met. Her use of the English knowledge, the dictionary is ridiculous.
So now,
We would play Scrabble, and like I'm over here with dogs, and she's got some like crazy word, and I'm like, that's not even a word. Where's
Yeah.
the dictionary?
bodied, BODID.
No, it's just like I've never even heard that word before.
Yeah.
Did you stay friends with her after Rikers?
We stayed friends for a couple of years. I used to visit her in Bedford Hills, and then over the years we lost touch.
Oh, okay.
Just kind of naturally.
Yeah,
lot
well,
of-
I was on probation. I wasn't supposed to go see her, and I risked it all to go see her many times and bring her food for packages for her commissary. And then my probation officer was like, "Hey, you can't do this."
Phil Selman helped a lot of people on the way up. Chris Rock, Adam
Comedian,
Sandler,
of
those
course.
guys. None of them talk to him anymore.
No, they don't help Phil anymore. They don't.
Nobody. I did a show. I did a show at Rikers years ago.
Ungrateful.
They're all ungrateful. Everybody. Rich
Yeah.
was talking bad about me before I come here.
He did.
I didn't talk bad
Unbelievable.
about you.
did.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yes,
So-
he did.
but there's really not a lot of good things you could say about you.
What about you? You can't even say it properly.
Yes, I can. I've
you like
raised
to buy a vowel?
I've raised 3 kids. I have 32 years sober. Right there, that's enough to talk about.
32 years is impressive.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Phil, comment. What do you
I'm
think?
clean for 15 years.
You're not clean.
I'm clean from
you
drinking.
smoke pot.
There's
So
nothing
you're
wrong
not
with smoking
clean.
pot. I haven't had
Shut up. I hate when people
Yeah,
go, I'm
okay.
clean,
Yeah,
and they
okay.
smoke pot.
You know how many
Rich-
people are in federal prison for marijuana? That's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
In states where it's legal, in California, that's where I did my time.
But
People
Voss,
doing
how-
10
But
years.
now they're
That's not
changing
going
it.
to work.
Are they changing it now, though?
No,
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 they're not changing
no. Federal law is that marijuana is illegal. States' law is that it's not. But if you're in federal prison, they don't care what the state law is.
Yeah, so do people get busted in California under federal charges?
Yes.
How do you, like,
So if the federal
how and
government's
why?
investigating some drug cartel and there's marijuana
Mm-hmm.
and it's marijuana, then they just go arrest you. And now you're in federal prison in California for something that's legal in the state.
Just because they want to get you for something. So that's
Correct. They
because
pro-
that's a federal crime, we can get you for that, so we're going to lock
I
you up.
mean, most government investigations revolve around money. So they're investigating you because they want your money.
I
so it's an industry.
So how come they haven't called Roger? Like if they've called you and they've called so many other people, why do you think they haven't got him?
Well, most of the time when there's a secret grand jury proceeding, they don't call the person that they're interested in.
Oh,
Yeah, I
they're trying
think
to
that-
maybe get information first too and get everything.
I think
Then
This
they're
is-
just going to indict you in secret and come and arrest you.
This is
That's
the
what
s-
happened to me in 2008. I was arrested in a secret grand jury indictment
Mm-hmm.
with 240 pages, and I never actually knew what evidence they had against me because I didn't have the money to fight that case.
Wait, do you have to go when there's a secret indictment? Do they don't call you to testify at your own thing or no?
No. The whole point is to get an indictment against you and arrest you. They don't care what you.
Okay,
They've
yeah.
already determined in their heads that you're guilty of this. So they're not giving you a chance to defend yourself. So they're certainly not going to invite you in and let you ruin their case.
Okay.
But you got to get enough proof. It's like a warrant. You can't get a warrant without enough proof.
Right.
And you can't get an indictment
But
without
this is
enough.
already an indictment. As soon as that sucker's sealed, they're coming with the handcuffs and you're
Right.
done.
Yeah, I'd be very nervous if I was Roger Stone. It's the fact that all this is going on and nothing has happened to him. I don't think that means they don't have anything. I think it means that he's the one they're trying to build the case against.
Maybe. Yeah, it might be.
I mean, that's
it could be. Yeah.
Because if they weren't trying to build a case against him, they'd be using him, or at least trying to use him to build a case against somebody
Well,
else.
they still may
I
do
think.
that, but they may want to get everybody around him first, and then they start going after the bigger.
Yeah, why do you suppose Roger is the guy? Do you think it's because they think would be the hardest to turn? Do you think because
He
they got
knows the most.
they got the former lawyer, they got Roger's?
His notorious reputation. So if anyone out of the Manafort and Stone and all of these other characters.
I mean, they got the Manafort in the Manafort and Stone, right?
Right.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
So if anybody in the Trump campaign, who would actually be the one to have colluded? Probably the one with the worst reputation. And that would
Roger.
be Roger. Yeah,
I see.
So they might be holding out to go after him.
I think so.
And you don't think he'll
Collecting.
turn.
Probably.
And they probably don't think he'll turn either, which is why they're like, instead of threatening him with this and that, since he won't buckle,
Right.
let's get everybody else to turn on him, collect the evidence, and then bust him for it, whether he admits it or not.
Yeah.
That is probably the strategy. Do you think that my hypothesis could be true?
It could be.
It could be.
Who are they calling right after you? Who are right before you? Do you know?
Well, Andrew Mueller, who was my 2010 campaign manager, right? So Roger was my strategist. Andrew was my manager. And Andrew's fighting his subpoena. So he recently just lost, but he's appealing that. So he's fighting it on the grounds of whether or not the special counsel's office is a valid office.
Man.
And you ran for what? For
Governor of New York City Comptroller also.
So you ran, you've run for election before. Once you went in front of the grand jury, is that when your view of the United States government, like, had a whole different perspective? Meaning, like, is that when you really started to figure out how things worked, or did you have a pretty good idea?
I did have
Before.
a pretty good idea in 2008 after getting arrested.
Yeah.
So, but this was eye-opening. I'm not going to lie. This was eye-opening. I mean, obviously it's a little bit scary going into a grand jury, someone with felonies and having to be back in a federal courtroom is horrible.
Knowing you have immunity has got to be nice.
It's okay. I mean, I had no liability, so it really even didn't bother me. But seeing how the system works from that side, being actually in the secret grand jury and seeing it, not being the one victimized by it, but actually being there and seeing it was horrible. I don't understand how justice can ever be done, because whatever they will find will be something that has been somewhat manufactured on the narrative that they're feeding. And so us, the American people, will never really have a clear answer.
Well, it's kind of like what Roger Stone does in terms of, I know exactly what the laws are, so I know exactly what I can get away with, so that's what I'm going to do. It seems like when the government wants to take somebody down, they go, okay, I know constitutionally what I can do. I know how to build a case. So we're not going to go against the Constitution. We're not going to do anything we can't. But we're going to use every single power that we have.
They know how to fuck you.
Yes,
they know how to fuck you,
yes.
and they know how to make you spend money.
And they have a lot of power to do
so.
Right.
Because it's not their money.
Right.
So they can ask you to do anything.
It's our money.
It's our money, but you have to pay for a lawyer. So they can ask you, do this, and file motions, and then your attorney has to respond, and then they keep delaying it, and you have to keep paying your attorney, and it becomes this fucking endless thing.
Right.
Well, I think what people don't realize is like 97% of federal cases plead out. Why is that? Because it's expensive to fight your case. And then there's also the sentencing guidelines, which means that you're not going to get a deal if you take your case to trial. So they're banking on that. They're having a secret grand jury right now. If they indict him, they're almost banking on the fact that he won't be able to come up with the money or take the risk to fight it. So he may never know what's involved in there. Obviously, Roger Stone is willing to take the risk, and he's going to find the money. So he's going to fight it. So
You think
he's
he'd
going to
fight
be
the
their
money?
worst enemy.
He'll find the money?
Oh, he'll find the money. He'll
When-
be their worst enemy.
When you got arrested, what did you did you cope with the idea that, okay, I might actually be found guilty here, I might actually be going to jail, or did you kind of believe that'll never happen to me? I don't think that this is going to happen. Like, were you ready?
I was ready. In 2008, when former Governor Elliot Spitzer was caught with a girl, I knew there were plenty of wire transfers to my bank account from him. There was a trail of money, and since they had been investigating him, I'm quite sure I was involved somehow. So I lawyered up prior.
Was it maddening? I'm sorry.
Okay.
Was it maddening to you when you're, on trial and end up in jail, and he ends up with a TV show out of the deal?
Yes, of course. That's why I ran for governor as a protest candidate, because I was extremely pissed. People are like, don't you feel sorry for him? What do you mean? He got a $2 million CNN deal or whatever that was.
Right.
I feel sorry for myself. The state took all of my money.
Plus, he's the one who got to fuck the prostitutes.
And
He had
the
his
show,
fun,
and the show didn't even last that long.
But the big issue is that in 2007, when one of his first acts as governor was to change the law, right? It was a misdemeanor for a man getting caught with a prostitute. He made it a felony. So that was my big thing, is like, how is it okay that this man who changed the law to make it a felony to get caught with a prostitute is not being prosecuted under the own law that he created?
Right.
So here I am, like, losing everything, and this guy is like gets a get out of jail free card.
And he
because
gets a
he's
pretty
rich,
cool
white, and
documentary
Jewish,
about him.
like-
Yeah.
When you
Yes.
lose do you lose property and
I lost everything. They seized
all.
all of my bank accounts, all my safety deposit
and-
accounts in other people's name. They knew where every dime
They
Can
was.
did,
they,
right?
can they get to safety deposit boxes
They
too?
can get everything.
Really?
Mhm.
That's everything. Just-
Everything.
Motherfucker. What did you have in your safety deposit box? Just
Cash.
cash.
Yeah. What do you think you're
Lots
putting
and
there?
lots of
You can have
cash.
jewelry, papers.
Boss, don't make fun of Jim for asking stupid questions.
I know,
You don't
literally,
have-
she
Don't
just said
you
safety.
fucking tell me what
I'm
to
just
do.
saying,
Hold
you
on.
may not have a lot of...
She just said safety deposit boxes, and then you went, because they get to your safety deposit boxes. And she was like, Did you notice that, Phil?
I even
Yes,
had
I did.
offshore
I certainly did.
offshore
He
money.
was never
They
right.
got you that,
They
too?
still
Yeah.
not. Still
They
not.
couldn't.
He's still not a
They
smart
couldn't
man.
take the offshore
Never
money,
was,
but
never
they
will
knew
be.
it was there, so they made me wire transfer it back in.
And then another thing too, and this is back when they say immunity, is that across the board, or can they come up with something else and go, this is not related? It's sub-related, and
That's
you
a
don't
good
have
question.
immunity
No, it's
for
not.
that.
It's really not a
It
good
is.
question.
No,
It is.
because
No, it is.
it is
No.
because they
Phil,
only.
did you think it was a
No,
good
it's
question?
terrible.
You're not in the business anymore.
Sub
Yeah,
is that bread or is that underwater? What kind of a sub is he talking?
No,
No,
you know what I'm saying.
They only give you immunity for what you say. However, if they're able to investigate those things and find any other additional crime,
Yes.
you are not given immunity for that.
Thank
Or
you.
if
And those
you
are known
lie.
as sub-crimes?
Yes.
It's in the federal system. It's called relevant conduct. So if
Okay.
this
not
action
in the
was
system.
relevant to this action, yeah.
What if you lie? If they catch you lying,
That's perjury.
Yeah, well,
Perjury.
but then they can. Then you'll lose your immunity. But if you don't give us everything you know, that could be even if you don't lie. But even if you lie by omission or just don't,
well, like Kristin said, you can't plead the fifth
yeah,
because there's no judge.
right. So
Right.
if you don't say
You have
anything,
immunity.
You want some turkey bacon?
No, thank you.
but you didn't. I thought you didn't think Boss's question was good.
Still pushing the turkey bacon. Why does he keep pushing the turkey bacon?
He's got
Because I
nothing
don't
else.
like to go to waste. If someone's hungry, there's turkey bacon. You fucking asshole.
Whoa!
Don't be a fucking asshole.
Whoa!
I think that was a substandard question.
Now I
That's
know why
turkey bacon.
Now I know why nobody will fucking help you.
I helped him.
How? You're a nobody.
What was your friendship in that respect? I mean, speaking, Phil was in here talking about how all the people he's helped, they ignore
Sure.
him now. Voss he's made a habit of losing friends as the years
He
have gone
has,
by.
yeah.
What was
by
your
the minute.
That's right.
crazy?
What was your network of friends like when you got out of jail? Everything's done. Time to rebuild your life. Did you have the same people there waiting for you, or did you have a rude awakening about people associating with you?
Rude awakening. I had no friends, and my boyfriend at the time, who I lived with, went out and got credit cards under my name and charged up $100,000 worth of bills in 4 months.
What did he buy
He was partying, bottles, girls, probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
while
know.
you're in jail?
Yeah.
So
How do you
were
get
you
credit
mad?
cards in somebody else's name?
Super mad.
Wow.
Yeah. How could he use? How could you
He
be
just
held?
went onto the computer and logged in as me and
Because he's got all your passwords and everything. Because you live
everything.
together.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
trust
I got to
him.
get my fucking wife's passwords.
It's your wife. You'd still be responsible for the
That's
debt.
Yeah,
right.
you're married.
No, I sued him.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, you got it. Just let him keep digging the hole. Let him keep digging.
Your wife's debt is your debt too.
Yeah, that would be really shooting yourself in the foot.
Buffoon.
Rich, it would be your debt
That's a
too.
good point.
Thank you.
I saw that.
It.
What?
It's stupid, right?
It's a good point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you sued him though,
I sued him.
and did you win?
I got a settlement.
Okay,
all right.
you
So
did.
you
It was pennies. It was pennies. It was not.
Are you still friends with him?
No
Are
way.
you married now?
No way. No.
Oh,
no.
what's the ring on your?
It's. I mean, I did used to be a pimp. Come on now.
Okay,
Like a little bling.
that is a pimp rock. Yeah, a pimp rock.
It is though. It's on your ring finger.
It
It's
is.
just because my other fingers are too fat.
Oh,
Well,
it's not
and you
to-
don't want
it's-
men hitting on you, so you.
Right? Does it
It's
thwart
helpful.
people away?
No,
No, it doesn't.
What
It
is your
doesn't.
boyfriend like now?
I don't have a boyfriend.
Why not?
I don't know. It's
By
too
the way,
much
that was-
work.
that-
It's too much work.
That's a very smooth way to ask that question, Jim. I like you.
Yeah.
Kristen's my friend.
I know, but your game.
I've
is,
never hit on Kristen.
Your game is tight though. When you're like, oh, what's your boyfriend do? That's like what you. I mean,
No, because Jimmy owes me like a brunch from a million years ago that you never followed through on.
I'm sorry. Let's do that.
Jim.
I apologize.
why didn't you follow through on it? Do you think?
I don't know.
I'm busy and I'm just
Are
stupid and
you?
I'm forgetful.
You're
Yeah.
nude in your apartment doing characters.
Exactly. Well, so what? That's right. No time for brunch when you're naked thinking of hanging yourself.
Yeah, while your characters are insulting you.
Oh my God! When they're telling you everything bad.
They do, don't they?
They sure do. They reiterate.
Oh man.
So yeah, I didn't think that was actually bad a question. I mean, we were just teasing you, dude.
What about what?
It's whatever. We're just teasing you about the question.
Give a
It wasn't
fuck.
great.
All right.
It wasn't
I mean, it wasn't
listening
great.
to this shit.
No.
All right. But you legitimately thought it was a bad question.
Yes.
He said-
Listen, it's a great question. The only thing I regret is saying a bad joke when she walked in, but I'm very fucking intrigued and amazed by her, listening to her stories.
That's very nice, isn't
That
it?
is very
and-
nice.
Very nice.
And just
What
you.
comment? You don't think so?
He's full of shit.
No, I'm not.
He's
Listen,
totally
son,
full of shit.
first of all,
He starts
listen,
with the dog comment. And now he's
listen,
backtracking. Now.
Listen, you're
Is
right.
that
I
beca-
I apologize. It wasn't funny.
Wait, why
But
is he
listen,
backtracking?
When somebody,
Because he's a moron.
when somebody I'm a moron. I'm a
fucking
moron
moron.
with a career. But
moron
listen
with
to
a
me.
career, yeah.
With a
Do you think
career.
it's because
Where
the
you
joke-
work-
Wichita, go back.
where-
They
where
were
you
waiting
working
for you to come
next
back in
Monday?
Wichita.
Where you working next
Doesn't
Monday?
matter. A place that
I
you will
know.
not be at.
Listen, shut up. Listen to me. When
That would be at
Spencer-
Rivera's in Fairlawn on
Yeah,
Monday.
boy, that's going to be a
You'll
big
be in
draw.
Bridgeport. The place will be burning when you go there
Yeah,
this
you'll be-
weekend.
I'm working a real comedy
Yeah, you're
club,
working a
not
real
on a
comedy
Monday
club.
at
Yeah,
a
okay.
fucking dance club.
Yeah,
Listen
right.
to me, you're
A
zero.
dance club. How
Whatever.
old are you? A dance club.
I'm 61.
At 61.
Oh,
That would be the
and
last person
I
who would know a
was
dance club.
61.
61.
All right, and I have my real
In
here.
dog years?
This is real here, not
Yeah.
plugs.
Yeah,
Plugs.
They're fake tattoos, though. Those are
Oh,
fucking
they're
fake
fake.
tattoos.
Yeah,
there.
they're fake. They're
The
fake.
lowest
And they
class
all
Jew.
have
Rich
meaning.
Ross is the lowest class Jew of all time.
Yes,
the
what,
lowest
just-
fucking class Jew.
Oh, and
He
you're
is, right?
classy. She bled on my couch, and I made her stay at a hotel.
Tell me this.
Fuck off.
I am
tell
team
me-
Selman.
Or I would have married her the first time like you there.
I fly in girls, and I like.
Tell me the
stop.
truth, Phil.
You're not
Do
in my
you think?
league.
Do you think the reason that Rich is now going back on the joke he made is because clearly we like Kristin, clearly
No,
his
it
joke
was a-
bombed,
Well,
and
yeah.
he wants to be accepted in the room?
Yes.
No,
I
I
see.
know. Look at it. I know it bombed. It was a dumb thing, but I'm intrigued, especially prison stories. I can listen to those. I can listen to
I
them.
like a prison story, too. I agree.
I read so many
Orange
books.
is the new black.
Listen.
We like that. It pleases
Yeah,
us.
good. Another show you're not on. Yeah, listen to me. I love, you know.
I'll be doing a drag part on there.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Be playing Rich's mother. Don't fucking call here again. Don't fucking call here again. My son's a drug addict.
She's dead.
So's mine.
I know.
They're both talking about us. We want them to be doctors.
Kristin, you don't have to deal with this in your day-to-day, do you? I mean, this is ridiculous, isn't it?
No, I
This
have
is his
nothing like
first
this in
time
my
doing
day-to-day.
radio, so
Fuck you, my first time. My first time doing real radio.
Yeah.
All right. You're right.
You enjoyed the experience?
Of course.
Yeah, I enjoy Phil very much. I was happy
Yes.
you contacted me.
You pleased me. I'm pleased by Jim Norton. Voss, the jury's out now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now,
I'll try to give you something. I'll try to help you.
were there people, Kristin, when you were in 2008, 2007, like leading up to that all that drama, were there people that and I'm not going to ask you to name names clearly, but were there people reaching out to you worried
Sure.
that after the Spitzer thing happened that you were going to reveal more names? Because I'm sure that you had more
Yeah,
clients.
Spitzer was not. I mean, my client list was 10,000 names. I kept all their credit card imprints. I mean, I've done a lot of things.
Were people worried that they were like, you can't?
Yeah, there was a lot of death threats, but I mean,
Really?
that's not
So-
in my nature
Why
to
would they
go and
threaten
snitch
you?
on somebody.
Were any of them legit? Like, I mean, a lot of people, say dumb shit. But was there anybody who threatened you and you're like, yeah, it's a legitimate threat?
Yeah, there were a few. Yeah, I was a little concerned, but I mean, that's not. I knew in time that would all dissipate
When they
because-
saw
Because
that
you're
you
not
weren't saying
gonna-
it.
Yeah, because I wasn't going to say anything.
Because all they want you to do
I mean,
is just, yeah.
Larry Flint offered me like $1 million to buy my client list. And I
Wow.
called my attorney and I was like, so I got this offer and all my money's gone. What should I do? And my attorney said, I think you should listen to the nicest and most, the voice of reason, your mother, because he knows my mother pretty well. And so I called her and she said, let me think about it. And then the next day she called me back and she said, you're going to destroy families and ruin people who their children, their wives, the innocence in that. Do you really want that on your shoulders? And I'm like, no.
And the money would be spent.
No, I want the $1 million. But,
And the money would be spent, and you'd have them all gunning for you.
Yeah,
But
so
wasn't
I declined that.
It wouldn't even be on
Working-
cool shit. You'd end up spending all the money on legal fees and stuff, and
Yes.
still have a whole bunch of enemies. And it's like, what
For
good
what?
did any of this?
What are you going to
do?
get? $400,000?
Wasn't there a California madam that turned state's evidence?
Is that Heidi Fleiss? No, or
That's
Yeah.
actually one of my friends. Heidi's
Yeah,
a good
I
friend
don't
of
know
mine.
the story,
and
so-
Dennis Hoff. Those are all my buddies.
Oh, we know
you know,
Dennis is.
Well, we
birds
have-
of a feather.
Yeah.